determinists are constantly forgetting to make a distinction between control and influence. So every time Sapolsky or Harris or any number of them get up there and say, well, we don't control our genetics, we don't control our biology, we don't control our neurophysiology, we didn't choose our parents, we didn't choose our upbringing, the time and the era we were born, we don't control any of that stuff. And under the free will paradigm, you'd say, so what? Those are conditions. Those are the conditions on which free will operates. Their limitations, their boundaries, their influences. They don't control us. You have to make a distinction between things that influence us and limit us and set boundaries within which there's prerogatives. That's not the same as control. And in fact, determinists have it exactly backwards. Free will needs to have boundaries and constraints and limits. I mean, what's going to provide the alternatives? Reality has to be structured in order for free will to operate. It only has options because there's boundaries and limits that set the options in circumstances. You couldn't have free will in a vacuum. So it's the exact opposite of what Sapolsky and the other people say. You need genetics, you need a foundation, you need a bodily platform to run free will. You need some software to run the keystrokes, That doesn't mean they control us. In the free will paradigm, it means that they're conditions of influence. And if you want to be a determinist and make your case, instead of over and over saying, well, in order to have free will, you'd have to be determined, and we're not determined, and that's not an argument, and that's not evidence, hello. You'd have to show why all of what they call factors of control aren't factors of influence or conditions, and they never talk about that. They assume whenever Sapolsky says, well, where did that come from? You're angry at your father and so you're a rebel. But where did that come from? Your genes and your biology and the mother is, breastfeeding or not breastfeeding, all that kind of stuff. But where did that come from presumes that it was determined. Okay, and you decided to reach for the toaster and put it on, whatever. Where did that come from? Well, the neurons fired, So it's the question, the way he asks the question repeatedly, you could say anything you want. You could say, well, I met God last night with a burning bush. Where did that come from? Or I discovered this. Where did that come from? And he will attribute it to a causal source. So the where did I come from is not an argument. And these aren't examples of determinism. These are presumptions of determinism and posing as arguments or evidence. Well, yeah, if you assume that we're determined, we don't have free will. I could sign off on that.